Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today we're going to talk about some things that Laurie Holden said recently at a Walker Stalker Con. Now, Laurie Holden played Andrea on The Walking Dead. She died in Season 3, and I think Season 3 and Laurie is probably one of the biggest controversies other than Dale from Season 2 and Frank Darabont. I think that was pretty much like dominoes, you know what I mean? It was a whole bunch of bad events, and a lot of it's still in the air because we don't know all the details. Now, Laurie Holden said that she had an 8-year contract. She said she was supposed to be ending up with Rick Grimes, and she was going to stay until the end. Now, here's the thing. I'm looking for a video of this. Everything is just news articles, but I'm really curious. Did she say she was going to end up with Rick Grimes because it was definitely planned out like that for the show? Or is she summarizing that her character was supposed to be similar to her comic counterpart? Similar, but very two different distinctions there. And I think if it was definite that she was supposed to end up with Rick Grimes and she was, signed up for an 8-year contract, that is very shitty now. Now I feel extra bad for the actress because you guys know, I think killing off Andrea, not just killing the character, but also what they did with the character and her story for the majority of Season 3 and even bits and pieces of Season 2, I feel like there's a disconnect there, and I always felt like it's the biggest mistake they have made to date on The Walking Dead. And I feel like they've made a few, some smaller ones like the van drop or the way Glenn fell. Okay, whatever, so what? Which still blow my mind. Fucking, when Glenn fell, you just add a second dumpster. I mean, fuck people, you got a job that you make. A fucking second dumpster. I could see the van thing because it's expensive. You only got so much light. You're shutting down the city or parts of the city. I can see the van thing, but the dumpster thing, you just put never mind. Just fucking never mind. Anyway, so with Laurie Holden, yeah, this sucks. And this is the 17th millionth time I try to record this video because I don't know where to place the blame. No. I'm not sure where to place the blame. I know the majority of fans blame the showrunner. They blame Glenn Mazzara. And it seems like it from the shit we hear that there was definitely problems there. The problems are not being confident where the story's going to go, having delays, productions being shut down, having a different vision on where the future seasons should end up. And that's very important because when you're crafting the story, you need to know where it's going to go so you can start putting the puzzle pieces together early on. Either foreshadowing, setup, and setup's probably the biggest. You don't want to ever box yourself into a corner, and from what we're hearing, Glenn Mazzara boxed himself into a corner, and essentially he called Laurie Holden and said they couldn't film your scene where you save Woodbury on a horse, and we gotta kill you and everything like that. Now, a year or two ago, they came out with a news story that there was problems and people were pissed off with Andrea's death. The bigwigs, I guess. And they went back in and refilmed it, and they had Scott Gimple rewrite it. And she has always said great things about Scott Gimple, and she loved the way he rewrote her death because it was pretty shitty beforehand. So I feel really bad because Laurie Holden offline in real life seems like an absolute sweetheart. I think she was a great pick for Andrea, and I think that what they did here is shit. And it always seems like it falls on Glenn Mazzara. Again, we don't know everything that happened behind the scenes, so I'm cautious to point blame there. But what are we going to do about it now? We hear about it, it's shitty, and when The Walking Dead even comes closer to going off the air, or once it finally does, we are going to get bits and pieces more to be able to put the story together. Everyone's not in a rush right now to put out all the negatives, and a lot of people want to stay out of the drama. In 10 years from now, we'll have Laurie Holden's friends coming out with a book, you know what I mean? And they'll be like, well, Laurie told me this and this and this. And, other shit is going to come out. But for right now, it definitely seems like there was a disconnect. Even when you go back and watch Season 3, me personally, I wasn't looking for anything, and I've talked about this on my channel multiple times. when I was moving, I was getting ready to marathon season 1, 2, 3, and 4 because I had to get all this shit done. I'm going to be in the house for a few weeks. I would be working, and then at night I'd sit there and watch it. I'm doing things, and I noticed that in season 2 you get a lot of fans talking about how it's too talky and it's too soap opera and whatever, and I was drawn into the conversations, even just the dialogue alone, what the characters were thinking, feeling, acting, the performances. It sucked me in. When it got to season 3, I felt a lot of cringe, some eye roll. Season 3 to me feels like there's some scenes that are way too salty, there's some scenes that are way too dry, there's some scenes that they're just right, and it's very problematic. There's really good moments like the Rick, Michonne and Carl going back to his old home, meeting up with Morgan, Clear. I love that episode. It's one of my favorite episodes. There's also the interactions between Merle and Daryl. There's also small subtle moments with Carol as a character developing. There's a lot of good shit. I think Laurie's death in that season was fantastic. I think they did a really good job overall with that. And I think there's a lot of good things in it. But there's also a lot of bad. There's also a lot of questionable choices where it feels like the story's moving forward. For example, Tyrese and Sasha getting to the prison, and then abruptly it feels like they take 2 steps back by kicking them out. And then when you get to the end of the season, you start to really question, why the hell did they even do that? You know what I mean? What purpose did it serve? There was no greater good. It was as if, when you look back in retrospect, it's as if they were shooting from the hip. And they were like, okay, let's write this. Oh, no, let's kick them out. We can intertwine it with the governor's story. We got something good. Then when they get there, they're like, well, that's not going to work, so let's just have them watch The Wall. Target practice. Yeah, that was in the comic, wasn't it? And there's some of season 3 that truly feels like Glenn Mazzara had his own thing he wanted to do, and he would sit back at times and go, okay, so these fans of the comic you're talking about, right? What's in the comic? We need to make them happy. There's a guy with an eye patch. Okay, is there glass in the room? Tell me there's glass. Is there glass? There's fish tanks? That's cool. I like that idea. Have him... No. Who... Michonne, have her stab him in the eye. Fucking eye patch. I did it. It feels like there's moments where they have this vision that's totally off course with what they were previously doing and with what they want to keep doing, as far as keeping it similar to the comic, just remixed. And then they were throwing bits and pieces for the fans in there. And it feels like it was a struggle. Even when you go back and rewatch it, you can feel the struggle, on set, behind the scenes, to get this together. And I always felt like, when I talk about it, I felt like maybe it's something with me. It just didn't connect with me as a fan, because I don't want to go and point fingers and say, oh, it has to be... What if it was perfect? How silly would I look if everything's perfect and they're filming it? But now when we hear more and more, us fans that have a problem, they find something that's odd or out of place, they find this disconnect. Now we feel like, oh, it might definitely have been something there, you know what I mean? A lot of fans will say it's Glenn, a lot of fans will say it's something else or this. A lot of fans even say it just started with Darabont being fired. And I know it feels shitty for us fans, and we often blame the big wigs that we never see because they're easy targets. We never see them. They're rich, and we just assume they're there to make money, and that's it. Well, they technically are, pretty much most of them. I'm sure some of them have to enjoy this. I would hope they do. The way we see it as fans, this is the news we're giving. When fans shit on AMC don't take it personal, because all we hear is Darabont was passionate about bringing this onto the small screen. All right, and then we hear AMC chops the budget. You're already rich. On top of that, Walking Dead is something that took AMC out from... Was anyone talking about AMC before Walking Dead? Yeah, Breaking Bad, I guess. Yeah, it was with Breaking Bad. Okay, they had something good with Breaking Bad. Then I think, what did they give? Is this a rumor or is this true? They gave like $30 million to Mad Men. That put them in a hole. And there was a lot of problems with AMC transitioning from what they were doing before, which was just, what, classical movies? Isn't that what it was? Wasn't it like the American Movie Channel or some shit like that, where they just did classic movies? They went from that to producing their own content, you know what I mean? Or buying, owning, showing. They weren't doing TV shows all the time. They're relatively new at it from before Breaking Bad and everything like that, from my quick little small understanding of what's going on. So us fans are seeing you guys say, okay, we put out The Walking Dead. It's doing incredibly well right now. Let's cut the budget. We're looking at you being like, okay, we're rich and we want to keep the money and yada, yada, yada. So don't blame fans for hating, because that's how it looks in our little bubble. News agencies aren't rushing to give the complete story. A lot of times we don't know the complete story. So I don't know what to do. The reason why I feel lost in this conversation about what happened with Andrea on the show and the actress is because there's nothing we can do as fans. We can't rally together and say, oh, don't ever do this cliffhanger again, hint, hint. It's not what we can do. We can't all come together and yell and make our voices heard. It's over with. It's in the past. The only thing we can say is I think she got a bum deal, and I think to this date, in my opinion, right now, still, what they did with Andrea and what they did with some of the story in season 3 revolving Andrea, like everything with Andrea altogether, is the biggest mistake they have ever done on the Walking Dead TV show, in my opinion. And that's it. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. What do you think about this? Put those down in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.